Hi, it's Jeff. Another one's videos about, specifically about missions. This one is about short-term missions. Is it worth the investment? And there are a number of, you can find these in discussion forum areas, everything online, and I want to talk about some experience as well, having done this and having participated in them, having organized them, and whether that is. So the first question is it efficient or not? And there are a number of questions to look at with a number of criteria. One is the money that is spent, or the amount of time and energy and money that's spent in organizing short-term trips, especially for groups, for a lot of Westerners to go and help in some other countries. Is it worth it? Why don't we just send the money to the other country, let them take care of it? Well, that sometimes works, but you have to make sure that the on-site location will use the money rather than dissipate it or give it to the government. You know, there's that issue, and there's a number of that. $14 billion were given to Haiti disaster relief, and we don't really not sure where it all went. Okay, but when it's handled through NGOs and other organizations, churches and missions, then you know at least it's being handled. Okay. So organizing trips is important, and it needs to be organized from the home sending country, and it also needs to be organized from the receiving country. It needs to be a bilateral and bidirectional thing. And it needs to be organized on both sides. A lot of frustration comes when it's not organized, especially from the receiving country. It's not a tourist trip. So some people do want to go, but they end up being 90% tourism and 10% work. Now this is frustrating also for the receiving end if it's being imposed on them and they don't have the resources to be able to organize the trip. Make sure that your trip that you're organizing can be received, it can be organized on the receiving end, as well as being planned from the sending end. Key thing, bad projects turn into bad experience. Okay? Poorly managed projects turn into poor experience. And you come back and say they're poorly organized. Well, it's just why? Okay? Was it imposed? Did you force it from the sending side to say you need to have us come because we need to help you? Disorganized trips, it would be better to send the money and have someone locally actually use the money and do a local organization and take care of it. In some cases that's true. It's not for the experience of the short-term volunteers that are going overseas. A lot of it's, we want to go, we are called, we. It's not about you. And that's the thing that you really need to understand, especially in Western countries. I can say I grew up in them, I've lived in them, and I've also lived on the other side of the fence and worked with it. It's not about what you, as a Westerner, can do for other countries, okay? Westerners are nobody, or just like anybody else. We Westerners are not the center of the universe, we're not the center of the world. We are not the best. No matter what country. I'm not naming countries, but you really need to understand that you are not the selected and the elected. You might be advantaged in some things that you've got, privileged to be able to have resources to do things in education, but that doesn't mean that it's better. It just means it's different. And you can help others in some ways. But it doesn't mean that even the help you're offering is going to help. Okay? And you need to be able to filter that very clearly. Sometimes when people come back from short-term missions, they will say that it wasn't where they've realized that it was more the experience they learned from where they where they were spending time and how they were affected and impacted to be able to share that in their home country. That does happen, and especially people have lived a number of years away and come back. They have been impacted, they've been touched in certain ways, and it changed their lives. They're hybrids afterwards, and they struggle with coming back and having cereal boxes, tons of different types of butter, cereal boxes, jellies, jams. They are when they only had one choice of what to eat when they were in a certain country. So sometimes the learning experience is it's more what you're going to receive than what you're going to give. And that's a thing that you have to deal with when you're going through short-term missions. You need to be ready for that. So many times I've seen that we are going to change that country. No, it's not always about that. And you need to really understand that, yes, it is to help, sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't help. But you will also receive, and you need to keep in that in mind. 3 quick experiences that I've done I've done short missions, went off on short missions from the U.S. when I started, left after years and came to France, worked in camps, have worked in a number of things, but also have participated in organizing and supporting 3 short-term mission groups in the past. There are others too, but these are the 3 key ones. And in 2 of those experiences where I was on the receiving end in organizing the groups. One of them I watched, I participated afterwards or just as a participant, and saw that it had been very well organized. Groups came and helped to do construction, and it was very well organized in the sending end and on the receiving end, and it was very efficient and very effective, and a lot got done. And then I came in afterwards, a few weeks, and helped in the local group coming in to do the renovation, and we built on top of it. So it was very effective, that whole example. Good organization, good efficiency, and very helpful, and it had a good impact, and the results were good. A second one was where another renovation project where I helped very much to do a lot of the explanation back and forth between the 2 countries, translating and providing diagrams and things and translating and doing everything to be able to get the preparation happening over a few months. And then participating in a 10-day full-time construction project and helping do a lot of online interpretation, translation directly right there, and get doing the work in the construction one. Well organized, well planned, well prepared, efficient. Now there were some things we ran into on site locally that we had to change the last minute, but we could deal with the change at that moment. But it wasn't surprises, constant surprises. And that ended up being very effective and very useful to the receiving group. It was not a waste of time, interpreted as a waste of time, trying to handle these group of 15 kids that were just there, and what are we going to do with them, and just send them off to go some tourism in the big city. Okay? The third example, which I questioned and I actually flagged, was that it was not organized well enough up front. And I saw that it would potentially cause reputation problems with the receiving end by the sending end. And the experience did prove true that the sending end did arrive. Things weren't quite organized. And in the end, several days later when I came and participated, people were saying, is this how these people are? Is this how they do it? Because we've had to come in and we've had to kind of change plans and do this and that. So that it wasn't quite as organized as that. That wasn't received very well, actually, when I had flagged that. That experience showed that if you don't plan it well, then it can be problematic for the sending people, because they'll say, well, these people aren't that organized, and they're not, and what do we do? Now, that one turned out okay, but it could have gone out worse, and I've heard a number of stories where things just are not organized, don't get organized, and that causes problems, and people going back and just say, why do we waste our time doing that? So short-term missions, in a summary, is plan it well, use it well. Do not end up wasting the time and the money of the volunteers, of their vacation time. Usually Western countries, and some Western countries, they don't get that much vacation time, especially in North America. So you want to use that very wisely, because they will see it as a waste. It's very important to make sure that is clear up front, and to use them the best possible way from organizing from the receiving end. Hopefully these experiences will help you in your planning and in your experience in planning a number of receiving short-term mission trips or sending them.